recording right now, and we will have the recording up on the platform for anybody who was not able to join.
Hi, Rania. It's nice to meet you.
I don't know if we should wait for another 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great.
maybe starting at 12:40 or 1:40, I guess, depending on time.
Yeah, 1:40. Yeah, because we are expecting many more people. I think we have up to 39 registered, right?
Correct, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Yvonne. Oh, great to meet you. Would you mind, Claude, skipping to the next slide? It might be useful to have the housekeeping rules up as we kind of just get started here. Thank you.
Actually, I think all of our colleagues here are from SURG, right? No one from the ministry? Is that correct?
Just trying to take a look at our. Yeah, we have some thumbs up in the chat. Just taking a look at our participants list. So far, it does look like everyone is from CERD. Oh, no, we have Bilal, who has just joined us from the ministry, I believe. Hello, Bilal.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm sorry for the late joining.
Hello. No, we're still waiting for some people to join us, so thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks. It's our duty. So even my colleague Rashad has a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I see Rashad there. Hello. Also from the ministry.
You have just started.
Yes, correct. Correct. We haven't begun kind of presenting yet. We're just all kind of meeting up here now.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi, Bilal.
Hi, hello.
Hello. Do you know whether other colleagues from the Mehe will be joining soon?
No, actually, no. I think you have already sent an invite for most of the those concerned at the Ministry of Education, but I don't know who is going to join or not.
Okay. because we are about to start, but we so far I think we have less than 10, while we were expecting
And most of them are
many more.
working in the administration, you know, because they are head of the departments.
Okay.
So I thought they are a bit busy today, but really I don't have any idea about if they are going to join or not.
Okay. That's okay. I think we're going to start, but maybe for other sessions, we will send a request through UNESCO asking you what is the best time to have these sessions, because we're going to be having 2 sessions per week for the next
Yeah,
10 weeks. And it will be good to have maximum participation.
yeah, I know.
Yes, and of course we have reading materials, but we hope also, according to the plan at least, that the live sessions will constitute the bulk of the training.
And
So
also no one from Rios is here as well, because Rios are mm, should attend this training.
Rios, you mean the regional education offices?
Yeah, regional office.
Okay, I think we had a couple of them in the list of participants. So let's get started. Hopefully, others will join as we discuss. Um, we will start by a quick introduction by the training team, and then we'll have we have a series of discussions, starting with presenting the course overview and course objectives. We'll share with you what we think is practical information for you to work with over the coming 10 weeks. But of course, we are very flexible, including really adjusting the time for the meeting, for the sessions, if there is another appropriate time slot from your perspective. I would like to come to the previous sessions slide, sorry, the housekeeping notes. These are general rules that will help us work better together going forward. Of course, we are using these live sessions as really the primary delivery modality. We hope to discuss the content and also do practice activities with you during these sessions. So we recommend you highly really make sure that you are available, including really by turning off all the distractions. And also there are many functionalities to interact with us during the discussion, either using the chat function of Zoom or also raising your hand to use the microphone and share with us your comments or questions. We're going to be recording all the sessions, and then they'll be made available to everyone on the platform. Thank you so much. And also, really, it's meant to be an interactive session, so feel free to stop us and raise any question without waiting for the Q&A part of the discussions. And so for today, and also throughout this training, you're going to be working with a team of 4 comprised of myself, Claude. I lead the education financing team at IEP Paris. I'll call upon Nesreen and then Hala and then Sage to introduce themselves.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everyone. My name is Nasreen, and I work with Claude and Hala and as a consultant at IEP. I will pass on to Hala.
Thank you, Nasreen. صباح الخير جميعا. My name is Hala Al-Buhairi. Nice to meet you all. I'm an associate program specialist at IEP UNESCO, and I'm very happy to be supporting the education finance training in Lebanon. I'll pass it over to Sage. Thank you.
Thanks, Hala. Hi, everyone. My name is Sage. I'm coming from Canada here. I'm a consultant also at IAP with the global campus. So I'm a learning designer. So I work to make sure that the course is tailored to your needs. And I'm also the technical focal point for the platform. So if you have any kind of concerns with any kind of access to the platform or any issues on the platform at all, I'll be the person that you come to. So I can be reached in the help forum and obviously in the live sessions as well. So I look forward to working with you all. Thanks. Back to you, Claude.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we have colleagues with wow, able to support you on many different topics. Of course, the content-related discussions. That will be me, Nesreen, and Hala. And then Sage is really our expert supporting everything related to the platform and learning design. So she will also be helping with helping you better use the platform since it's going to be the main medium for communication going forward. But we are also, as I said earlier, we are flexible to identify other venues to keep the interactions dynamic, including if judged useful, setting up WhatsApp groups or the likes to continue discussions in between sessions. So we'll discuss that later. Also, we can speak different languages if we want to go beyond the English, which is certified as the main medium for the instruction, but we are also available to interact in other languages, including French and Arabic. Of course, we'll keep using the English as the main, including the training materials, but also happy, if useful for some participants, also have sessions in other languages. Really feel free to raise any questions so far. We have a poll prepared for this session to get to know each other. Of course, we have received some information, your names, email, etc., but also where you're working, but we would like to get to know each other more. And actually, now that we are also not that many today, feel free to also raise your hand and use the mic to share with us your background and expectations. But we have the poll. I think you have this message in front of you. You should be able to, just by clicking on it, onto the questions, and we would like to use that to discuss, including adjusting the upcoming sessions, how we best organize the upcoming sessions. So we can take a couple of minutes to respond to these questions. Sage, let me know if the process is okay.
Yep, looks good. I'm seeing all the votes come in. So we'll just give it one more moment here and then I'll close it because it looks like most people have already answered. There we go. I think that's probably everyone has just answered. But feel free if you have any kind of clarifying statements in the chat. If you want to say, I'm working on French, I'm working on a new language or anything, you can put that in the chat. But for the most part, right now it looks like we have quite a few trilingual folks, here. So I'll just end that poll right now and you should be able to see the results right now. So we have most participants speak Arabic and English. And then we have most participants who have already done an online course before, with only one participant it is your first time in an online course. So this is great. We have a little mix of people who are already quite familiar with the ideas of online courses, and we have some new perspectives as well. So thank you everyone for responding. This will just help us tailor a little bit to you. We know what languages you're speaking and how comfortable you are in the online space. So again, if this is your first online course, we hope to make it as kind of inviting as possible and We want the online modality to be as kind of tailored to your needs as it can be, so that we're not struggling with technology and just taking the time to learn. So thank you everyone for responding here. I'll maybe send that back to you, Claude.
Thank you so much. So I can see that many of you are operational in several languages, which is great. This is going to be useful because we also have lots of documents, sometimes available in only Arabic or English or French. So this is going to be an asset for us, knowing that you can use the different resources we're going to be sharing with you. Regarding the statistics about languages and whether you've taken online courses before, that's great as well. But of course, we are a small sample out of the entire group. Hopefully, when everyone connects, probably the data or statistics may change. But let's use what we have now, and I will keep updating this information as we move forward. So I'm going to continue. We also wanted to spend a couple of minutes getting to know each other, particularly, of course, as you remember, we ran a survey last year trying to assess what your expectations are. I think we've already shared some of these findings, but we also do not know whether people responding to this survey are also the people who are joining this course. So we'd like to really get to know you better and assess your expectations so that we can reflect these in the upcoming session. So either using the chat function or raising your hand. If 2 or 3 of you would like to share with us your expectations, also considering that the situation might have changed since the survey was run, which was several months ago.
Claude, I'm sorry, can we show the objectives of the course in order to answer this question? Because actually before I was out of office for 3 weeks, so if we can see the objective of this course.
Great. So you also have the guidelines for
Those
participants.
are the modules, yes.
Which has been shared a week or so ago, gives the overall presentation of the course. But I'll go through it again, and then maybe it's a good idea that I present this, and then we can come back to the question about expectations. So the course is called Education Financing and Public Financial Management in Lebanon. We're going to be working around 5 modules. As listed here, the first module is an introductory module on education financing. We're going to be covering the fundamental aspect of education financing and the economics of education to get to make sure that everyone is familiar with the terminologies, the key concepts, and key indicators. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. And then next week, we will be doing the same thing, but focusing on public financial management, or PFM, which otherwise called also the budgeting processes, budget preparation, implementation, and reporting. Module 3 will be the main module of the training. You will, as opposed to module 1 and 2, which will take 1 week, module 3 will be over 3 weeks, focusing on strategic planning, programming, and budgeting. Then we'll have module 4 on budget implementation for 2 weeks. And then for the last 2 weeks, budget monitoring and evaluation, and also the wrap up close up the cost. And in terms of the objectives, sorry, Bilal left. I hope other colleagues are following. Actually, if your internet connection allows that, so you can activate your camera. It would be nice to see you. In terms of the objectives, so we at the end of this course, we hope to be able to support you really having the capacities and the knowledge to analyze education financing in Lebanon. Analyzing meaning being able to consolidate data from different sources and deriving analytical conclusions from that. Being able also to understand what are the mechanisms of financing education in such a complex setting such as Lebanon. We also hope to be able to support you be more familiar with budgeting processes, understanding what are the different stages of budget preparation, what are the different actors, and how then the Ministry of Education as a whole, and also the different organizations around it, such as the CERT, can um, can better take advantage of the budgeting processes. As you know, the ministry, as the education sector depends a lot from the Ministry of Finance to provide them with the resources you need to work. So education officials need to be very familiar with PFM issues so that they can really take great benefit of the budgeting processes. That will be part of the objective of this course. Then also being familiar with the regulations related to budget implementation. As much as the budget preparation is a very technical exercise, computing what the resources are needed, implementing a budget is most related to knowing the rules. What do I need to do to implement this type of activity as opposed to this type of activity? Implementing a capital expenditure is not the same thing as implementing a recurrent activity. So we want also to, of course, this is a huge endeavor itself, but we also want to be able to expose you to the to these processes and regulations. And then finally, applying the tools and procedures to monitor the budget implementation, which is a core function of the PFM. These are the objectives. Of course, as I said, we want to keep it really flexible as we move forward. It's very ambitious. As you know, we had initially planned to have face-to-face workshops. Will have allowed us to have a higher level of interaction with you, but it didn't turn out to be possible. But actually, we will speak with your supervisors and UNESCO Beirut to see whether there is a possibility, maybe not this month, but maybe in February or March, to think of a workshop in Lebanon around this course. But so far, the plan is that we're going to be working mostly online. So these are the objectives. Again, you have this information in the different materials shared, but if you have any burning question so far, I think we could take a couple of minutes as you introduce yourself in the chat to raise any question you have so far. And then the work plan is, or timeline is presented here. As I said earlier, we're going to be working together over the next 10 weeks. Week 1, that was last week, was the inception week. Week 2, this is the current week. We're going to be working on module 1, very introductory module. You've received yesterday the reader or syllabus. And then module 2 is going to be very similar, but really focusing on the public financial management. And then week 3, that's where the serious component are going to be starting related to the planning and budgeting side of PFM. And then module 4, so module 3 will take 3 weeks, and then module 4 and module 5 will take 2 weeks each. So I will stop here for a couple of minutes to see whether there are questions, but also coming back to the previous questions we had for you what are your expectations, and is there anything you are expecting you didn't see in the course objectives? Thank you. Nesrine, Sage, I can't see the chat, so if there are questions in the chat, bring these the plenary session.
Sure, we'll highlight those. Nothing in the chat yet, but it does take a moment to type things out, so give it a moment. And expectations could be, a broad set of things. Maybe you want to learn about like the online environment a little bit more as well. There's no right answer here.
Well, I think after this session, we will also maybe use the platform to continue the interaction. But we were also asking ourselves how easy it is for you to have access to continued internet, because you're going to be doing activities during working hours, but also probably after that. We want to know how easy it is for you, or whether you would like to have, in addition to the online materials, you'd like to have also printed materials. We could ask our colleagues from UNESCO to print this and send it to you, for actually, at least for those who would like to have printed materials. Sage, up to you for the rest of the session, but really feel free to raise any questions if I would like to interact with you. Unfortunately, we forced to work online, but hopefully we'll find a way to have the discussions really interactive and meaningful. Thank you.
Thanks, Claude. So I'll just go over briefly the assessment activities in this course. So assessment meaning, what you have to complete in order to get the certificate at the end of the course. So we have this little table here that you can see on the slide. So we have a very straightforward, hopefully, assessment plan here. So we have 4 formative assessments. So that's just for us to check your knowledge as we go through the course. So we have a quiz in Module 1, and then we have 3 discussion forums. So this is just for us to make sure that you are on the right track in the course, and to engage with you on a few topics and things like that. And then we have 1 summative assessment at the very end of the course, and this will be the group knowledge report at the end of the course. So you may have already seen in the guidelines for participants that we'll have 6 group activities throughout the 5 modules. So in each module, we'll work on an activity or 2 as a group. And we're hoping to get you kind of introduced to your groups shortly. But so throughout the course, you'll be working on this knowledge report by completing these activities, which you can also submit for feedback. But at the end of the course on March 24th, we ask that you submit your group knowledge report, which will be graded out of 20 points, just to give you some feedback as well on the products of the knowledge report. And that will allow us to assess your knowledge coming out of this course. So next slide, please. And just a note that we should hopefully be aiming for about 8 to 10 hours a week. Please do let us know if you're going over the allotted time for this course, if you're having any issues meeting the requirements of the course. We're always here to help. So this is just to kind of let you know that that you will be issued a certificate of participation. We have a tool called Accreditable, which gives you a little accreditation for the courses that you take with IAP. So at the end of the course, once your participation has been validated, you will receive accreditation from IAP, a certificate of participation. And apologies, I'm noticing the date on this slide is incorrect. So you do need to submit the knowledge report by the 24th of March, 2025. But that is in the guidelines for participants, and it will be on the platform as well. Apologies for the small issue. I think that's where I'll end here. Do we have any questions about the assessments so far? Each module will be going through the activities together, so nothing should be a surprise by the time that you are working on it with your colleagues. So please feel free to raise your hand here if you have any questions so far, especially about the assessments or requirements for certification. That might be clear to move forward. If you do have any questions, please feel free to jump in at any point during the live sessions, and we also have the online help forum if you want to post your questions for everyone to see as well. I'll send that back to you, Claude, I think, or maybe Nasreen.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Sage. So how are we going to work together in the next 10 weeks? There are three main components to this course. The first is the weekly live sessions, so like the one that we are in right now. So there are two per week, and the idea is for it to be really interactive. And so please feel free to bring your questions and ideas. If you have any suggestions on how we can improve also the live sessions. The second element is the group work, and Sage and Claude have already touched on that and talked about the final sort of completion of the group work by March 24th of 2025. And in here, it would be great to actually speak together, just take sort of 1 minute or two, because we wanted to suggest to have two WhatsApp groups, one for all of you, so that you can communicate with each other throughout the course, and then one with the coordinators of each specific group and the teaching team, so that the coordinators can bring in their questions if there are any, and represent basically their groups throughout the course. So is that something that all of you are sort of in favor of? Is there any idea on how we can both keep in touch with you and you can keep in touch with each other throughout the course? What do you all think about the idea of the WhatsApp groups?
Actually, it's a good idea, يعني, if we have WhatsApp groups, يعني, this is a good idea. Actually, I didn't talk about
Okay.
our expectation of this training, because you mentioned actually all the expectations mentioned in the previous slide. So actually, we have to mobilize the sufficient funds or the available funds at MEHI from the government contribution in order to prepare the budget. But we have to train people how to prepare a budget from the operational budget to needs-based budget to a developmental budget. But as of today, most of the government budget here at the Ministry of Education goes to the salaries. 90% of the budget goes to teacher or staff salaries. So, and actually, the best exercise also how to train who is involved in the preparation of the budget. Because today, I think the head of the accounting department here at MEHI is preparing the budget with the minor consultation with other head of departments. But actually, in my opinion, not all the financial officers are involved, but also the head of the departments, because they have uh, to put their ideas and their activities, which is related to the program education, in this budget. And this was not happened for the last 20 years, maybe. And this is related to the sufficient funds as well, provided by the government contribution. But today, the main objective is to learn how we prepare how we plan for the budget and how we prepare the budget. Actually, the concerned people who prepare the budget are technical persons, not financial, but they send all the budget and the activities to the financial persons, and the financial person arrange the budget in its form. And actually, the financial people or the head of the accounting department responsibility is to manage the budget, not to prepare the budget. So this is my main concern. And actually, the last objective, what are the tools to monitor the budget? This is good. Maybe we could have like financial software that should be established in order to learn or to have um, reports that should be generated related to the budget, to the comparison of the previous budget with the next from year to year. And this is are the most concern of the objective of the training.
Mm. Thank you so much, Milan. This is it's actually great to hear your concerns and also issues about coordination when it comes to budget preparation and your questions also about budget evaluation. So what's great about this course is that the bulk of it, which is going to be module three will span 3 weeks, and it's about strategic planning, programming, and budgeting. So all of the concerns that you have brought are going to be talked about and delved into during those 3 weeks. And then, I mean, when it comes to the fact that 90% of the budget goes to teacher salaries, that's quite common in a lot of ministries of education. That's not necessarily one of the sort of one of the focal points of the trainings. I mean, we are going to talk about it, but also when it comes to budget monitoring and evaluation, that's going to be on the last week in Module 5, where we are going to talk about that. And I also see in the chat that Cynthia and Rania are okay with the idea of creating 2 WhatsApp groups. One for all of the participants and then one for the coordinators with the teaching team.
Sorry for interruption.
No, this is great. Sorry, HP, do you mind sharing what your name is and potentially renaming yourself? I'm not sure who HP is on the chat.
I'm Rana Abdullah,
Rania
the
Abdullah?
coordinator of joint academic departments in CERT.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. I will note that. And then we also have Aline, Samia, who says that she's using a desktop. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds great for the WhatsApp group. So I think we're going to go ahead and validate that idea, and then we'll work out the logistics in the breakout rooms when it comes to the connecting through the phone numbers. Yes?
May I add something? I can't find the raise hand button, so that's why I jumped in. I just
that's
want
good.
to add that, we always plan in Lebanon our budgets and plans, and when it comes to implementation, 1,000 crises come, and we can't implement like we plan. So I'm not sure if in this course you may as well help us or give us some strategies for this, and how to be able to reallocate all the budgets or all the how can we move forward with all the interruptions we have, especially when we have big budgets. And I want as well to add that at third, our projects and budgets are not are for quality research training, not for the teachers' salaries as in the ministry. So we have different, let's say, budgeting. It's the same, يعني, but we have different objectives for our budgets. So this is it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rania. When it comes to when it comes to dealing with crises and budgeting, Module 2 has a section about budgeting in the context of emergency, where we're going to talk about the specific case of Lebanon. It is true that the entire course is not framed as budgeting in the context of emergency, but I believe, and Claude, please do jump in here. I believe that there might be another course specifically on crisis-sensitive budgeting, is that or crisis-sensitive planning with another with the IAP cluster working on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. So we thank you so much, Rania. We received a demand late last year to reflect the emergency context in the training. And our response was obviously, because it would have been difficult to do things otherwise. So this course is going to be reflecting emergency situation throughout in a cross-cutting way. But it will not be the focus of the training. So what we agreed with the UNESCO Beirut, so they are liaising with MEHE and the IIP department specialized in crisis planning to have right after this one, a complementary training whose main focus will be on emergency planning. But for us, we'll start, of course, looking at these issues from a financial planning perspective, such as what you raised earlier, related to what do you do when you know that you cannot implement your budget as planned. What do you do for in terms of planning? What adaptive measures can you introduce in your planning? There are techniques, of course, we have to discuss together to see which ones are most applicable to Lebanon. And then also there are a set of techniques for the budget implementation. And then this course, then we hope will come right after in April. Then we'll really provide additional expertise for the crisis-sensitive planning. Other questions, please? We are taking notes, and we'll hopefully we hope to come back to these with answers how this will be reflected. But for instance, what Bilal said earlier, this is already really the focus of the training, how to prepare a budget, who should be involved. I understand there are a situation of budget preparation in terms of actors, which needs to be improved, having a more collaborative budget preparation process. So these are really at the core of the current training. Happy to take another question or two before switching to the next part of the session. Okay. Maybe Sage or Nasreen, over to you for the breakout rooms.
Sure. So we will take a few minutes now to go into breakout rooms, and Sage will graciously put you in one of three rooms. So we're going to have two groups for Surd and one group for Mehe. And I am going to share with you in the chat right now a spreadsheet that you are going to be filling out with your team. The idea is that you will be putting your contact information, and then as a group, you will decide on a best time to meet every week, because you're going to have a sort of weekly assignments as a group. And if you're able to, if time allows, you will also be sort of choosing a group coordinator. So you don't have to necessarily do it right now. You can do it once you get to know each other more. But I do believe that all of you do already know each other, so might be a good time to choose that. And then, if time allows, you can share within your small group what has brought you to this course, what projects are you currently working on, and if you need any form of assistance on this breakout session, you can notify Sage or use the Ask for Help button. So, Sage, would you mind putting us in breakout rooms now?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
does everyone have, sorry, I'm sorry. Does everyone have access to the, is everyone able to see the Google Sheet?
Yes, let's see
No, not
that
yet.
people are able to access first. Feel free to just give a thumbs up using the react button or other. I can also just check in on groups if you send the ask for help message at the bottom of the screen. I can pop into your group and give anything, give the link again if needed. I'll just note also that so we have the two CERT groups, group 6 and 7 of our kind of course groups. So those groups look good. And then I've actually made one group of individuals. So we're missing some of our colleagues here today. So I'll just list. We have Abdul Nasser, Bilal, Rashad, and Rana all in an individuals group together. So it's mostly Mehe, but Rana, I've also put you in the individuals group just because we're missing some participants. So if you're in this individuals group, feel free to put your contact info as you would with your group in the breakout room. And then you can just discuss with this group, introduce yourselves if you don't already know yourselves, and discuss what has brought you to the course. So I'll go ahead and launch the room in just a moment. Please please go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any concerns, if you're unable to access the Google Sheets document. Think we'll be
So I see that we have 12 people on the Google Sheet document. So we
that
can
should be everyone.
probably,
Okay,
yeah.
wonderful. Okay, so this it will be timed for 10 minutes, so you'll automatically receive a 60-second warning when we'll be coming back into the plenary. So I'm going to go ahead and open all the rooms. You should be prompted just to accept the room and travel to meet your colleagues. So we'll see you all back here in 10 minutes. And we'll just get a little debrief from you all just to see how your breakout room went. So opening all the rooms now, and we'll see you all back here shortly.
Mm.
Back in. Just 10 seconds, and then everybody will be pushed back into the plenary session. There we are. I think everybody's coming back to join us.
ايه سوري رنا سمعتيني؟ رجعنا يمكن سوري يمكن كلهم سامعيننا.
Sorry, we often
Really,
interrupt
سوري
conversation.
جايز لانه
really doing the sessions during the day, it's very critical for us.
yeah, that's why I put 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. يعني maybe it's
Yeah.
Okay.
better.
That's fantastic to know. Actually, we asked the question. I don't think we received a response, but we are flexible. If you prefer to have these sessions later in the day, we are okay adjusting. So are you saying that at 3 p.m. Beirut time will be better for you?
Yes, of course, because
Not for me, Rana. No.
Neither.
What do
Not
you
for
prefer,
us,
Rania?
not for us even. No, we are two, huh? We are Carmen and Gazella. We can't in the afternoon. So when you adjusted the time, when you replaced the 3 o'clock with 1:30, it was really great for us. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And for
So we
me
have
too. Also.
two demands. Do you think we should vote, or
And Alia.
how do you
We
propose
also
we
prefer
proceed?
the noon, not in the
The
afternoon.
noon. Okay. Okay. So I thought we had for us we are flexible as long as it makes sense for
I,
you. We are flexible, but of course we cannot do two sessions.
I,
So we'll
I
have to do
guess
one.
voting will be perfect.
Okay. So. But we're going to be sending a vote later today or tomorrow, but we also would like you to also interact with your colleagues who did not make it today to explain to them what are the implications. That what the objectives really is to make sure that we have the session at a more convenient time for you, where you are a bit more free to attend the course, but also where you are not interrupted in your working hours. Another thing we would like to suggest, of course, we want to hear from you whether it is feasible. We would like to ask UNESCO Beirut to reach out to your supervisors to make sure that you are provided with time to do the training, so that uh, you get a flexible working hour, or well, at least during the days when we have live sessions, so that this is in your agenda. You think that will be useful?
I think they don't mind that we take.
Okay.
It's not that they are not the problem. Our tasks are the problem. So the staff they
Okay.
are
Cool.
calling. So that's why Rana is asking to have it at 3. I think so.
Okay. Good. Another, I don't know if it makes sense, another alternative way, but I have no idea whether it's okay. Maybe since we're going to be having 2 sessions per week, maybe one could be around noon and another one in the afternoon, so that if you miss one, at least you can attend the other. But just trying to find a solution. I don't know whether it makes more sense just to keep one permanent hour for all of
Yeah,
the
what about
upcoming.
having only one session and then the course, instead of finishing in March, it can finish in June, let's say. Is it a probability? Is it an option?
So it does not depend on us. For we have a lot of things under our control, but the UNESCO Beirut, which is facilitating this course financially, they have a deadline for using the funding available, which is end of March. But of course, we ask them to liaise with their donors to see whether there is such a feasibility. Ourselves would like to have the course spread over more time because as you can see, we have 10 weeks. It's intense. It does not allow all of us to have to take the course in a kind of calm way. So we're going to be working hard, and we hope that UNESCO come back to us with at least a good news that we can not postpone, at least spread out the course over not 10 weeks, maybe 14 or 15. For instance, we have indicated that in ideal setting, we should have a break in between, somewhere after the first 5 weeks, to catch up on homeworks, etc., because we know there are going to be delays in submitting activities. So when you have a 1 or 2 week breaks in between, you allow at least participants to catch up with wherever they are lagging behind with. So we'll get back to you, but so by tomorrow we'll send a vote to see whether there is another slot that will work best for you. And also, of course, we're going to be recording all the sessions, and Sage will be explaining later how we're going to be using also the office hour or the coaching hours. The idea is simple. In addition to the 2 live sessions, you can also reach out to us individually or as a group to discuss specific topics if you have questions, etc. So this is very flexible. It's up on demand. Sage, over to you for these next slide.
Thank you, Claude. So this slide just gives some steps to get introduced to the course. So these are really the steps from last week, and I'm sure most of you who are already able to join the session have taken a look at the platform or read the guide for participants. So these are just a few things that that we like to have you do to get started in the course. So to do these tasks, we'd ask that you go to the introduction section and so review the guidelines for participants if you haven't already. Obviously, log into the platform and review some of the information in the introduction phase. So that includes just taking a look at the platform page, making sure that you can navigate the different sections of the introduction phase. Like Claude said, we'll take a quick look at the platform before the end of this session together, just to go over navigating the different sections and some of the different tools that you have at your disposal, which do include the office hours. As well, we have a language tool that's very useful that'll show you towards the end of this session. And then you can also monitor your progress in the course. So we'll take a look at that together. And then the last task that we ask you to do as you introduce yourself to the course is to reflect and introduce yourself to your colleagues in the warm-up activity. So there's a forum to get warmed up on the platform, to get used to how the forums work. And so we ask you to reflect a little bit on the data in Lebanon. So just a reminder that these 3 tasks are very useful to get warmed up in the course. So just if you haven't already, please go ahead and do these tasks in the introduction section. But so that wraps up our session here on introducing the course. And right now we'll get into a little bit more of the Module 1 content. But I think it is useful to just open the floor for any questions to do with the organization of the course, or you can ask questions about the platform as well, but we'll take a look shortly. So I'll just take a moment here to look at the chat, just make sure. Are we able to take this course at our own pace? Thank you for that question, Graziella. So there are certain things that you're able to do at your own pace in this course, and then certain things that we all do synchronously. So each week there will be some synchronous things that we have to do, and then some tasks that you can work at your own pace. So the individual tasks like the quiz, for instance, in Module 1, and the discussion forums, those you can work at your own pace, but we ask that you get those tasks done at the end of the week, knowing all the while that you are all very busy people, and we remain flexible for as many things as we can be. And then, but we do ask that you join us for the live sessions, of course, and that you're able to meet with your group synchronously as well. So while it is at your own pace a little bit, we also, have a few things that we'd like you to keep up with throughout the process of the course. I hope that answered your question, Graziella. And if anybody else has any questions here, feel free to just pop in or raise your hand. You can use the under the reaction button at the bottom of the screen. You can raise your hand as well, but we're not really standing on too much ceremony. Feel free to just pop in. Without any questions, I think, Claude, we can move forward.
Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot keep the course open too long, so we will have to close it at some point. But of course, the materials and actually the platform will remain open and accessible long after the course is closed. So those who would like to continue having access can. Another thing I want to say, actually, we will send a few questions as we explore how best to arrange these. There is also another alternative, actually, of having, instead of 2 live sessions per week, having one longer per week. If we can at least block one afternoon for the training once a week, and then we if it's more easier for most participants to attend. I don't know if, for instance, there is an afternoon where you are a bit more available, or half a day where you are more available to attend the course. So we'll submit a couple of options, and then we can use that we can discuss that Thursday. So far, we're going to work according to the plan. So we're going to jump into the next part of the training, which is actually about the dual content. But really, feel free to stop me and raise any question. This is very introductory module, meaning we're going to be covering very basic aspect of education financing and economics of education. I can imagine that this is very familiar to most of you. I assume you are very familiar with notions such as GDP, inflation, growth rate, and the likes. And what we're going to be doing is to review them quickly, and then really linking these with the implications for education, education planning and budgeting. And again, who are already familiar with these, because it's difficult otherwise, because they are part of normal life. We are always faced with these in the news and everywhere. But really feel free to ask any question, and we'll make sure that we provide you with answers right now, but also we can direct you to other resources to help you go beyond the basics. So module 1, as we discussed, we're going to be looking at the fundamental aspects of education finance. As we said earlier, as you see, we have 5 learning objectives, and each learning objective is linked to a module. And then for each module, we have more specific learning objectives. So these are the learning objectives specific to module 1. We want really to be able to use to understand the financing of education, the mechanism who funds what in a country. For instance, in Lebanon, of course, we have the government, which is the primary source of education finance, but we also know there are many others. Families provide funding, donors, communities, etc. So we want to understand education financing from a global perspective. Then we want also to be able to analyze the different financing mechanisms using already established indicators that are used to assess the what we call the adequacy and equity dimensions of education finance. We'll come back to this later. And of course, we also want to situate the topic in the current national context. As already discussed, we like to, as much as possible, reflect what are the implications of crises and emergencies on education financing. Again, we want to make it clear that we are constrained in one way. Regarding that, we'll have to stick to the 10-week period, and then we have a number of things that needs to be done each week to attend the live sessions, and then conduct a number of activities, and then submitting the activities before moving on to the next session. So we'll come back to this, but let us know whether you have questions. This is a typical organization for Module 1, which is it's going to be very similar to Module 2. And then Module 3 will be a bit different because we have 3 weeks for Module 3. Voila. But also this might change after we receive the your responses to the vote. Be submitting soon. So the outline of module you received yesterday the syllabus, the reader. You've seen module 1 is organized around 3 main sections. A brief introduction to education economics, and then the role of the government in financing education, and then some key indicators to assess education costs and funding. This is a very high level introduction, and the idea also is really to give you kind of the appetite to start with, and then hopefully using the additional resources and the practice activities, you're going to be learning more beyond what is in the reader. Because the reader is around 25 pages. So we cannot put everything in it. Otherwise, it will be a too big document. That's not the objective. So the reader is the basis for learning. But in addition to the reader, you have training, other practice activities, then also have additional readings, which means that there is a demand on your time over the coming 10 weeks to complement this training. Really feel free to raise any question, and colleagues, if there are questions in the chat, you can bring this to the plenary to discuss.
Just jumping
So we're
in.
going to be,
Yeah,
yes?
Claude,
Sorry,
I have
yeah,
not
go
a
ahead.
question. I just want to ask you if it is possible, and it would be much appreciated if you can post the documents to read before just one day. So yesterday you posted all the documents, and you asked us to read them, and we have a survey to do before the live session and so on. We couldn't do this. So it would be much appreciated if before time you can post all these documents.
Definitely, you are right, Rania. We were a bit delayed. Actually, we should have posted these by Friday last week. We had a few things to fix since there was the first module. We had a few things to fix. It's true. So next time we'll make sure that the resources are available at least 2 days before. And if we are to kind of take into consideration the fact that the resources were shared a bit late, actually we can probably extend by one day the deadline for at least for module 1. Make sure that we give you enough time to read and then to come back. Thank you so much. We take note for that. So I'll try to go per the script, but if you are already familiar with these basic notions, then let me know, and then we'll move quickly through this. What is important to know here is that education financing is situated within a national economic context. That's why some countries have more resources available to fund their education systems, because they have a big economy and a functioning economy, which allows the education sector, not only actually in the families, to have more resources to invest in education. Of course, this is not the case everywhere, and every country has its own specifics, but really it is difficult or even impossible to assess education financing without understanding the national economic context. Very much linked. And then another thing is, aside the economy side of education financing, is demographic issues. You can have a high performing economy. For instance, we have lots of countries where you have a big growth rates, but at the same time they have population issues. They have high population, and you can have a lot of resources coming in year after year. But if you have also equally important or big demographic pressure, then the resources available for education will not be that much as compared to a country where there is no big demographic pressure. So every time we approach education financing, then what are the resources, but also what is the demand? The demand is the population. And then, of course, what are there is also a country, lots of country-specific considerations regarding the demand in the sense of the perceived returns to education. This is related to how education is perceived by the population. Of course, I'm speaking generally. You can relate this to your context, but in some countries or part of countries, education might be perceived as not not an interesting investment, and then some parents will not think it is useful to send their children to school, despite whether the education, the government, or there are schools around and teachers. Parents may choose to not send their children to school. But also, of course, we'll see also again more in details some of the aspects listed here. The demand for education, as we know, is also always in a competition with many other alternative investment or solutions. We'll come back to this later. And what we're trying to say here is that really to understand education financing, there is a minimum of concept to take into consideration: the supply and the demand, the education market dynamics. Meaning, are there schools? It will be difficult to say, I would like to send my children to school if there is no school around. So the distance to the nearest school is a very important factor. Also, in most countries at least, education is funded mostly by the government. Then, of course, there are other stakeholders, private sector, which may be a significant actor. Education in some countries, we have understood it the case in Lebanon. The private sector is managing a significant portion of the education system. Would like to hear more on this. And also it has huge implications for budgeting, whether the government provides subventions or not to the private sector. But when there is a significant private sector, we need to consider that when we do the planning and the budgeting. Again, feel free. It's supposed to be a class-like setting. So if there are questions, reactions, anything you'd like me to explain it a bit more, we'll be happy to do so. And of course, the reader and the additional materials will provide you with more details on that. So when we are assessing the adequacy means in this context is the education getting enough resources? We start by assessing, actually, that's what I meant earlier, whether the government as a whole has enough resources to finance public services, of which education. And one of the way to assess that is the GDP, the gross domestic product, which gives an idea of the resources available to a given country. I assume you are familiar with this notion of GDP. We will not be discussing how it is computed, etc. That is not the focus of the training. I can provide some explanation if needed, but GDP in today, in terms of today, at least as when we want to assess the size of the economy and how the different economies in the world are performing, it's the go-to indicator. It's also called national revenue or national wealth, but typically the economic terminology is GDP. And this is something we're going to be using throughout the course because we always report many other variables vis-a-vis the GDP to see how education financing or salaries or this and that, compare vis-a-vis GDP, just to give an idea what is the portion of the GDP am I getting. Let me know if there are questions. Be happy to elaborate more on that. And again, GDP, of course, there are many ways of assessing or appreciating GDP, one of them being to see the year after year growth rate, meaning that GDP is in accumulation of wealth over 1 year. Let's call it 1 calendar year from 1st January to 31st December. And then if I want to see, to know or to assess whether I'm getting more or less, then the indicator is just to compare it with the previous year. And the formula we have here is a typical calculation of the GDP growth rate from 1 year to another. And the very basic, just you take the current GDP, you deduct the previous year's GDP, and then you divide by the previous year GDP and multiply by 100. So a typical calculation of a growth rate. We have in the module reader, we have is explained. Also, we have practice activities and Excel sheets you can play with. So this is an example. The figure we have here is an example of GDP growth rate over the last 5 years, or 6 actually, from 2018 to 2023, showing the growth rate of GDP over that period. Of course, as we said earlier, very special context where the country has been recording a negative growth rate, meaning that the GDP is declining, and with very special years where the GDP lost almost a quarter of it in 2020. Of course, you know better than us the context then. We also, when you are assessing GDP growth rate, it's accumulative, meaning that 1 year after the other, you need to add up the different percentages. For instance, if we were to assess what is the growth rate between 2018 and 2023, we need to add up the different annual growth rate between that period. So it will be adding up minus 1.9, minus 6.9, etc. And something will be something I'm trying to do a manual add up will be something like 40 or 45%. It need to be the sum of all of this. So basically, before moving on to the next slide, the GDP is an important indicator of the economic situation of a country. In the absolute terms, it gives an idea of the wealth or resources available in the country. And then when assessed year after year through the growth rate, then it gives an idea whether the country's economy is growing or declining. And unfortunately, in the context of Lebanon, at least over the last few years, there has been a decline in the GDP growth rate because of the many factors we know. Of course, we will be discussing these in details as we go forward because they have huge implications for education financing in a country where the global wealth is declining. It'd be difficult to expect that education will be getting more from a declining economy. And then we also need to think then what can be done. Typically, are there other sources of education financing beyond the government budget? Yes, could be donors, it could be a household, but also we know that in a declining economy, households are also being affected. I mean, families, everyone is being affected, so it's difficult to expect that families will be able to get to finance education more if the economy is being affected this way. I'll be taking a few breaks in between to see whether there are questions. Another important dimension to consider when assessing the economic situation of a country is the inflation. Very much linked to what we just discussed, inflation. This is also an economic notion that is very widespread. It has a general definition which could be a bit technical, but that's what we have in the textbooks: general and lasting increase in the prices that leads to a loss of purchasing power for money. So really inflation, the easiest way to define it is really vis-a-vis the purchasing power. I have the same bill, the same amount of money, but I can buy less actual product with that. We'll not be discussing the sources of inflation. It will be a bit beyond this course, but happy to provide explanation. What are the causes, the main causes, at least the theoretical ones. But every time we discuss this aspect, we directly would like to understand what are the impacts or implications for education, education planning and budgeting. Typical implications of inflation for education planning is that we've just seen that even in normal conditions, education tends to get a very constant share of financing from the government. And then when you are in a context where there are high levels of inflation, it means that you really are losing your purchasing power as education sector. So the country, the government will keep giving you a certain amount of money with a small increase, but then the inflation is going to eat up somehow your purchasing power. So you can do less and less of the resources allocated to you as a sector. So that's one way, and meaning actually that schools will not be able to um, to buy supplies as planned in context where when you also have in-year inflation. Very high in-year inflation is that by the time you do the budget and by the time where you go to the market to buy the products, the prices have changed quite a lot, and you cannot really afford to buy what you had planned to buy. I'm referring again to Rania, the questions about emergency. There are countries, because we're talking about emergencies that can come from different forms, including insecurity and conflict, but also economic emergency in context where prices change quite a lot in here. It's also an issue serious enough to be considered in the budgeting practices. We have a very notorious examples of a high inflation country like in Zimbabwe in the past. I don't know what is the situation today, or Argentina, where they used to have huge inflation. So by the time you're doing your budgeting, and a few months later when you're going to be implementing, the prices have kind of doubled. So how do you do your implementation, and then how do you reflect that in your budgeting? This is something we can discuss. But of course, this is this is something you hopefully learn in the crisis sensitive planning course. When you are trying to reflect emergency or crisis in your planning and budgeting, you first need to assess what are the hazards you are dealing with, because vis-a-vis each hazard, there is a strategy to put in place to respond to that. If you're dealing with conflicts and insecurity, you need to understand what are the frequency of such events and what are the implications, and then put forward the strategy for planning and for implementation. If you're dealing with other types of hazards, which are not directly related to insecurity, let's say economic fluctuations, high economic fluctuations such as inflation, then there are also other strategies. But unfortunately, in real settings, you have a mix of all of those hazards. It's not only one. You have many, many at the same time you have to deal with, which becomes very complex. But we can discuss really what we know as our strategies, either from the planning side or also implementation and reporting that can help at least mitigate the risks associated with this. I would like to continue, but don't want to keep speaking alone. This is another example of the trends in the annual inflation rate for Lebanon over the last 6 years. Very special context where you can see, as I said earlier, it's very cumulative. You can see that inflation has gone up from a what we'll call a normal rate of around 5% in 2018 to something very, very enormous in 2021, 22, and now. And this is an average over 1 year. Of course, in between, probably much higher. What I must say to wrap up with inflation, inflation is there is no country in the world where you have zero inflation. There is always a 2, 3, 5%. There are thresholds which are considered to be normal when you have inflation between 2, 3, and 4% is said to be normal. Then when it comes close to 10%, it starts to become very problematic. And then, of course, more than 10, it's something else. It's called hyperinflation. But around, let's say, 5% are considered to be normal. I'll stop here for this first unit and see whether you have questions. Really, we would like to spend enough time or more time discussing and responding to your questions rather than speaking, because these are things you can read in the reader. We also have practice materials, and what we really expect here is questions related to these economic notions, but all actually how do you translate that, or how do you, interpret these in your national context. Thank you for now. Happy to take on questions. We have 2 other sections, but probably we won't be going through all of them. We can cover the next session, but I'll stop here for now for questions. How do you relate this to your day-to-day work? Is this something you have to deal with when you prepare the work plans or implement your work plans? I would like to hear from you.
Perhaps we could also use this moment to test out the React function. If people feel kind of confident with what they've heard so far, you could kind of react with a thumbs up too, using the reaction at the bottom of your screen. Thanks, Rania.
One, for instance, one question I'd like to ask here. Of course, we'll have to see whether we have projections of inflation over the next 2, 3 years. But if I was asked to do my department or the Ministries of Education annual budget for the next 2 years, knowing that I'm operating in a country with such high inflation rates, how do I do to reflect that into my budget proposals? That's a typical equation you have to address. I don't know what are the strategies used for now, since it looks like it's been around for quite some time.
The problem is, even if we reflect it in our budgets, the government will not give us the amount we asked for. أكيد وائل can explain more on this because he works directly with the finance ministry. As for the donors, we have a benchmark and we strictly need to work under this benchmark. So if I want to pay a trainer for the training delivery, let's say, or the development of the training material, I need to ask for this amount, even if I know that in 2 years this amount will not be accurate, or we should raise it, let's say 20% or 10 or 5% if we go back to the natural life and have only 5% as inflation. So this is it.
Yes, we have a real problem while we prepare our budget, because we prepare our budget for next year, and we don't know how many the rate of the inflation will be. So we put numbers in this budget and we send it to the Ministry of Finance. But after 7 or 8 months, the number are no value for this number. And since 2019 till now, this is the main problem in our in center or in CRDP. That's the main problem because inflation is an hyperinflation. I think Lebanon is the third in after Venezuela or Zimbabwe. So we have a real problem in this while budgeting.
So thank you so much. We will get back to this when we cover module 3, the actual budget preparation practices. Of course, there are techniques, but some of them are more easier to implement than others. Of course, the easiest one will be to reflect on the projected inflation in your budgeting. For instance, if I know that next year the inflation is expected to be around 5 or 10%, I'll make sure that I reflect that in my planning. But maybe that's feasible when we're talking about 5-10%. But if it's going to be 100%, it's difficult because it means that I'm going to be doubling my budget request just to reflect the inflation. It also depends, actually, we will have to discuss how you could enhance the dialogue with the Minister of Finance to see what are the expectations from their end, knowing that this is going to happen. How can you improve your budget preparation so that from the Minister of Finance side of things, it's feasible? I don't know if there are, of course, there are budget circulars that are sent to you every year at the beginning of the budget preparation to give you guidance of what you need to do for the upcoming budget preparation. Are there any reference to the inflation practices in the budget circulars? I don't know, but we can see so that there is one set of actions related to improving the collaboration dialogue with the Minister of Finance. There are also practices related to what is called contingency budgeting, but very difficult to implement in a context of constrained resources. Contingency budgeting means that I'm going to be budgeting and planning as I normally do, but there is a line of budget where I can tap into if I have unexpected events. So if so I have my budget and then I have something, let's say 10 or 15% available in a special account. And if there is a special event, I can use that to cover my unexpected expenses. But you can see that that is feasible in some contexts and not others, because you're not talking about really high inflation. You'll not be able to set up some of these. There are others related to using foreign currencies to kind of protect yourself against the inflation. So we can list some of them and discuss what are the feasible. And of course, as an education sector, you will not be able to set up these alone. You need to work with the Ministry of Finance to help you set up some of these special arrangements, I would say. Also donors. Sometimes you also have donors who commit to certain financing in national currency, and the situation might change in between. So are they going to be adjusting their funding accordingly? We'll be coming back to this later. Another comment or question on this before switching to the next session?
I think the solution after the crisis, we can do this. But now I will give you an example. The way the salary of a public servant before 2019 was $2,000. Now 13 salary will be $500. Yani, this is the main problem. So we can't talk with the employees to come to work or to work with like how he worked before. There is a second problem. So we have to wait when the crisis will finish to start budgeting like the same way before.
Yeah, definitely. Fully agree. Actually, you gave a very concrete example. What are the implications of high inflation? If I have my teachers who've lost a big portion of their purchasing power, how can I keep them motivated and coming to schools and teaching? It's a very tough one. Actually, the solution will need to have the government manage better the economic situation and bring down the inflation. But of course, this is easier said than done. But hopefully, the inflation will be constrained at some point, which is the long-term and most sustainable solution. Thank you so much. We have 10 minutes left, but we will not be able to cover everything. We have two sections left, but that's okay because we also have the session on Thursday. We had hoped to use that to dedicate that to question and answers after you've read the reader. And after you've started doing some of the practice so that we can really use that for practice. But we'll be happy also to use maybe half of that for covering with to cover what the rest of the module, which is really not going to be covered today. The Section 2 and Section 2 was on the role of public administration. And again, this is a very introductory content on the role of public administration and really gradually moving towards the main focus of the training, which is education and finance. I can give a quick review of that, but I'm seeing that we only have a few minutes left. I don't know if it makes sense to start or whether we keep this for next time. I don't know. I will let you decide because otherwise
we'll next time.
We keep it for next time because we only have 5 minutes and we don't to get started or something will not finish.
Maybe it's also because Sage wanted to go through
yes, that's
platform
true.
logistics. And
maybe Sage, you want to take
yeah.
5 minutes and give a quick overview of the platform, and then we will continue interacting on the platform, and then we meet again on Thursday.
Thank you.
That'd be great. From my end, I'd love to give a quick kind of tour. But if you're all, familiar with the platform, and the functionalities of kind of online courses, you're welcome to get to any other meetings if you have to. So this will just be an opportunity to maybe go over some of the features of the platform quite quickly. And then if there are any questions, feel free to ask me here or reach out in the help desk. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen here. Sorry, some computer related allowances here. Okay, just let me know, Nesrine or Claude, maybe if can you see my screen okay? Okay, I
Yes,
can
we
see
do.
lots. Wonderful,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so and feel free if you have any kind of questions specific to the platform, just pop in. I'm just going to do a quick little tour of kind of some main points for navigating the platform. I'll just say here at the beginning as well, or maybe I'll ask you to write in the chat if for any reason you haven't been able to access the platform. So hopefully you would have all received the link and the instructions via email. So please just flag if you know of any kind of concerns to accessing the platform, or if any of your colleagues who aren't here have had any issues, please feel free to just make a note in the chat or hop in. Otherwise, I'll be assuming that everybody's able to access the platform with their accounts. So here at the course page, so this is where the link that you were sent will take you. I recommend that you access just checking the chat. Access the platform directly via the link, just so that you don't have to navigate from the dashboard. But I'll just show you here if you ever end up on the dashboard, you should be able to see the course here on the front page. If you have any other courses with IAP, you'll see them here as well. But you should be able to just navigate straight to the course from the dashboard. But so this bar up here in the left-hand corner has some of the navigation tools that you may be interested in. Mostly, it is useful sometimes to just navigate back to the course homepage. This is usually how I end up doing it, is just clicking this little, in French, they're called the fil d'Ariane, and in English, they're called the breadcrumbs here at the top. So that just shows you where you are on the website. Here we're in the course, obviously, and then you have each module section or page here that you can navigate at the top of the course as well. So currently we're in the introduction. So you would have hopefully been able to take a look around last week, noticing the news forum will be a great tool for all of us. This is how we share information with you directly to your email. So all of these emails should end up in your inbox, but you can always review the news forum here on the platform directly. I've mentioned just briefly in the chat that we'll be sending some follow-up messages about the live sessions. So all of the PowerPoints are usually shared as links to the platform via the news forum. So after the live session, we'll let you know when the recording and the PowerPoints are available on the platform via the news forum. So just going down this introduction page, as I mentioned earlier, we have a few activities that we've proposed here. I won't go too far into them, but we just have a little bit of information about the course. We ask you to introduce yourselves and warm up using the discussion forum here. We have a page for this first session, just giving you the information about our Zoom session here. One thing I'll point out is that we highly encourage you to edit your profile when you first start the course, usually just to add a profile picture, which actually I'm showing poor form. I'm using this test account, but I don't have a profile picture. So it's nice to always see your faces in the forums and things like that. So I would suggest you coming to edit your profile and adding a picture if you can. You may also want to update your information here as well. So I'll click update, that will save to the platform. So that's the introduction section for the most part. I'll give you a quick introduction to the sidebar here. And now I just have to go back and navigate to the course from the dashboard just because I was in my settings. So coming back to the course here, we have this sidebar with lots of helpful information. Like I just mentioned, the news forum, the help forum should be hopefully very helpful to anybody experiencing any issues. Just checking. Graziella, I'll take a look into why you weren't able to change your gender. One thing that I'll note here is that we're undergoing an entire platform update for how settings are changed and things are updated. So there's a possibility I will have to look into these settings a little bit further to see what this issue might be, because it might be we have your current dashboard on the global campus, and then there's also something called the My IIEP account that has all of your information. So my suspicion is that we'll have to use your IIEP account, but I'll take note of that and see if I can figure that one out before our next live session. So going down here on the sidebar, help forum, hopefully very useful. If you have any questions, you can reach out here, and that's just a functionality like the regular forum. We have two threads here, one that I'll be taking care of if you have any questions relating to the platform, and then Claude also will have any answers to your questions on the course content. Coming here up again to the sidebar, I'll just note also what might be very useful to you is the office hours page. So what we've done here is that we'd love to have you reach out with any questions directly if you want to have some one-on-one time with a course facilitator to discuss any group work, any data maybe that that you'd like to run by a course facilitator. You can request an office hour. So here on the office hour page, we've proposed a general time that you can request an office hour appointment, but that is also flexible. If we can accommodate you, we definitely will. Just a little bit of information on the office hours, and then we ask you to book an appointment just by responding in this discussion thread with a few details. So maybe you want to meet individually, or maybe you and your team later in the course may want to ask some questions about one of the activities. For whatever reason, we just ask that you give a little bit of details for your office hour. And then we'll just confirm with you via the forum, and we'll reach out via email just to let you know and send you an invitation for the session. So that is a tool that we highly recommend you take advantage of throughout the course, because I think interacting directly is always the best way to learn. I'll just highlight two things in terms of helping you track your completion in the course. So we have this completion progress bar, where if you hover over it, you can see all the activities that should be completed during up to now, basically, in the course. So we have this warm-up activity from the introduction section, and we have these 4 activities from the module 1 section already. So this is just an easy way. The platform will track if you've completed the requirements for that activity. So for instance, this test account has already completed the quiz, but hasn't completed any of the other activities. So you can just click and enter directly into the activity that you have to complete. So that's just an additional way to track where you are in the course. Later on in the course, you may be receiving feedback on a submission, or maybe you would like to see your quiz grade or something. This can be accessed using the gradebook here at the side of the course. Just check quickly for questions. I know we're a couple of minutes over. I'll just point out one more additional tool before I end with you all here. I've lost my ability to see the chat, so Nesline or Claude, just let me know if anybody's raising their hand or has a question. Otherwise, I will just highlight. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Nesline.
Yeah, I mean, Graziella was sharing the inability to access the personal information after the inability to change the gender. So I'm not sure if you saw that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look into these issues. I think I've been able to access the chat now. That's great to know. Thank you so much, Graziella, for letting me know. I'll take a look, and I'll be around obviously on Thursday as well to clarify anything. Thanks, Nesreen. So last thing I want to just highlight in terms of tools that you can use on the platform is we have an accessibility tool called the Read Speaker that will be found on the sidebar here. This is a tool for accessibility, so it will do a variety of things in terms of accessibility. So if you highlight certain texts, you can get it to speak out loud to you, certain things like that. But for our purposes, mostly, it is very useful for translating as well. So I'll just show you how you can translate some text into French, English, Arabic, using this tool very quickly, but you can learn more about the Read Speaker tool and the other accessibility functions just on this platform page, which can be found on the sidebar. So I'll just show you maybe in the discussion forum. You can use the Read Speaker just by first activating it using the play button. I like to stop it playing because it will automatically read out the entire screen. But just activating it allows it to access all of the text on the page. So if I want to translate anything into a different language, all you have to do is highlight the text that you want to translate, and it will use Google Translate to provide a translation in whatever language you choose. So this could be useful if you want to just see what someone is responding in the forum. If you'd like to respond in Arabic or French, you can do that as well. And then everybody is welcome to use this tool to access in their own language. So that's just a tool that we can use to all communicate better with each other. I'll leave this tour here just because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I encourage you to go to the Module 1 page and take a look at all of these activities that we've proposed for this week, and you can also conveniently find a task list here at the top of the page. So I encourage you to go do a little bit of exploring on your own, and we'll be here on Thursday as well if you have any additional questions regarding the platform specifically. Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen there. I'm not sure if we wanted to quickly address anything else before we close this session, but I'll pass back to you, Claude, to finalize this session today.
Thank you so much. I think it'll be over time, but I want to thank you all for connecting with us today. This was the very first session. We hope the next ones will be more interactive, but also we hope to get more participants attending. So we're going to be sending a quick survey to cover 2 points. What is the best time we should be meeting? And actually the frequency, whether we need to do 2 sessions per week or we need only 1, maybe a bit longer per week. And thank you so much for your feedback, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with this information.
Excellent.
See you on Thursday, and really feel free to reach out to us from now on. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Nice afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.